Okay, let's unpack this. You've shared with us a really fascinating collection of sources here,
Hmm.
all centered around this powerful symbol from the Upanishads, the Hansa, the swan.
That's right. We're looking at material that draws heavily from excerpts explaining this symbol,
Yeah.
related concepts.
Mostly from a book by Ajay Kumar Chartarya.
Yes, which itself synthesizes teachings from quite a few Upanishads, Brahmvidya, Yogshika, Narparevarak,
Yeah.
others too. It pulls it all together.
Right. So our mission today really is to take these ancient texts and really get to the heart of this Hansa metaphor.
Yeah, I'll say it.
What are the most important insights? What can we pull out that's actually useful for you, the listener?
What does it tell us about the self, about consciousness, the world?
Exactly. We want to give you a kind of shortcut to understanding these, well, pretty profound ideas.
It's about distilling that wisdom, isn't it? Making these maybe complex spiritual principles a bit more accessible,
It-
clearer.
Okay, let's start with the symbol itself, the swan, the Hansa. What makes it so special in this tradition?
Well, the sources describe the Hansa as um, uniquely pure, clean, wise, discerning. Really the most clever among birds, according to this viewpoint.
It's not just any bird then, it's an archetype.
Precisely. An archetype of wisdom and purity.
And it has these reputed abilities that sound very symbolic, like eating pearls. What's the insight there?
Ah, yes. Eating pearls, especially amidst all the, dazzling charms the world throws at you.
Right.
It symbolizes being able to pick out and value only what's truly precious, the real stuff, cutting through the noise and distraction.
And the classic one, drinking milk but leaving the water behind.
That's probably the most famous image. Yeah, it's the ultimate symbol of discernment.
Oh, so?
It means taking in the pure essence, the fundamental reality, the milk, and leaving behind everything else, all the non-essential, the diluted stuff, the water.
Separating truth from illusion.
Exactly. That's the core idea.
And it's also linked with goddess Saraswati, deity of knowledge, wisdom.
It is. And that link really seems to underscore that the Hansa represents these very qualities, embodies them.
So the Hansa then becomes this powerful metaphor for a person, someone who actually lives these virtues.
Yes, exactly. It signifies a wise person, someone who hasn't just, learned things, but has realized the ultimate truth, the truth of their own self and the underlying reality of existence.
So we're talking about someone who's reached a pretty high state of pure consciousness.
Hmm. Someone who has, in a sense, become one with the absolute.
These are the Hansa-like souls the texts mention.
Right, and they're described as remaining internally calm, peaceful inside, regardless of what chaos might be happening externally.
Because they've purified their inner being.
They've purified their inner self, gained clarity, which allows them to choose the right path, the path towards liberation, emancipation, salvation, eternal peace and bliss.
So they're seen as embodiments of purity, almost like Brahm, the supreme being, personified.
In their enlightened state, yes. That's the idea. The term Hansa itself implies that high level of wisdom, that discernment between good and bad, virtue and evil.
Accepting the good, shunning the bad.
It's the image of awakened, pure awareness, living that truth.
Now, these texts also make a very clear distinction between, let's say, the physical body and the true self, the Atma. How do they explain that relationship?
Okay, so the Atma is described as pure consciousness. That's the eternal essence, the real you, if you like.
And the body?
The body, by contrast, is seen as just a temporary dwelling, a habitat you get based on, well, past actions, karma.
So the body is perishable, it dies, but the Atma doesn't.
Right. The Atma is imperishable, eternal, has no beginning, no end. It just is.
So the connection isn't deep, body and Atma.
There's no intrinsic permanent bond. It's just the relationship of, say, a dweller living somewhere for a while, a temporary residence.
And understanding that changes how you see death.
Fundamentally. For the Atma, the concept of death becomes irrelevant. And knowing that, the sources say, helps dispel the fear of death.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. The sources talk about how the creature, the jiva, gets trapped in this temporary body, in the cycle of existence. How does that happen?
Well, according to these texts, it's mainly down to greed and ignorance.
Greed and ignorance.
Yeah, the creature is enticed, lured by the world's attractions, like a bird drawn to bait someone's laid out.
And because you can only really experience the world's pleasures through a physical body, through the senses.
Right, the gross body.
The Atma, wanting that experience, willingly takes on a body.
That's the narrative. It desires to engage, so it acquires a body. But
Then it finds it's not all fun and games.
Exactly. Once embodied, it faces limitations, suffering, horrors even. And eventually it starts to yearn for freedom again.
The world is described almost like an ocean, where the creature just drifts, chasing desires.
Yeah, sort of like the Brahm chakra. This great ceaseless wheel of creation and destruction. Round and round it goes.
So being too caught up in the world, too aware of its activities, that's what keeps the cycle going. Leads to delusions.
It seems so. The text suggests that, metaphorically, closing its eyes to the world's allure.
Becoming less attached.
Less attached, less reactive.
Yeah.
That's key to minimizing the delusions.
This brings us to Brahm and Maya. The sources say Brahm sustains creation, but has to tolerate a necessary evil. What's that?
That necessary evil is Maya, the power of delusion or illusion.
And Brahm created Maya.
Apparently so. Perhaps as a necessary part of the whole cosmic play, the drama of existence.
Yeah.
But its effect is to keep creatures, well, distracted. It prevents them from easily realizing their true nature and breaking free.
Ah, okay. So let's connect that back to the Hansa. The creature, the jiva, is inherently like the wise, discerning Hansa.
Yes, deep down.
But it's forgotten that because of ignorance and Maya.
Precisely. It's forgotten its special stature, its true identity.
So the path back to being the Hansa is enlightenment.
Enlightenment, yes. Overcoming the delusions, recognizing the true self, that pure consciousness within you, which is like a microcosm of Brahm.
And distancing yourself from the artificiality, the distractions.
Yes. Distancing from the artificial, shedding the limitations tied purely to the gross physical body. This allows the Atma to reside more fully in its causal body.
The causal body.
That's described as the most fundamental basis of its existence, where the Atma truly resides.
And that's what frees it from the wheel, the Brahm chakra.
That is the path to liberation, to eternal bliss, as described in these texts, becoming the Hansa once more.
Okay, beyond the philosophy, the sources also get into some pretty specific stuff about subtle energies and channels within the body. There's talk of nad, a subtle sound.
Nad, yes. It's described as a subtle vibration, or sound. It's said to be produced by the movement of vital energies, the pranas, within the body.
From the base of the spine up to the crown.
Often linked to that pathway, yes. From Muladhara to Brahmarandra. And this sound resonates, kind of like a cosmic hum throughout your inner self.
And it's connected to Brahm.
Connected to the idea of Brahm as the source of all vibration, all creation. There is mention of pure crystal or quartz symbolizing Brahm in creating this vibration.
And this Na'ad has different forms, leading to different feelings.
10 subtle forms, apparently,
Okay.
that can create various sensations, tickling, spasms, perspiration, even head tremors or changes in saliva. It's quite detailed.
Alongside Nad, there's Pran, the vital winds.
Pran is absolutely central. It's essentially life force, vital energy.
The texts liken the body to a balloon.
Or a football, yeah.
Yeah.
Filled with this air, these vital winds. That's what gives it lightness, agility, activity. Makes it alive.
And a corpse is heavy because...
Because Pran has left.
Yeah.
Exactly. Pran is synonymous with life itself in these teachings.
It illuminates the body from inside.
That's a great analogy they use. Like the sun illuminates the world from outside, Pran illuminates the body from within. Or like the Gayatri mantra being the hub of divinity. It's that core energy.
And there are different types of Pran, 10 types mentioned.
Yes, 5 main ones. Pran, Apan, Saman, Udan, Vyan, and 5 subsidiary ones. Each has different functions and locations in the body.
Like Pran in the heart and respiratory system, Apan lower down.
Saman throughout, Udan in the limbs, Vyan in other specific areas. And the subsidiaries relate to things like skin, muscles, bones, even blinking or sneezing. It's a whole system.
And this energy keeps the creature restless, mobile.
Constantly moving, yes, like a ball being tossed around. It's the energy of life and activity.
Okay, so where does this energy, this Pran, actually flow? Through Nayadis.
And the Nayadis, yes. Think of them as the subtle channels, the highways for Pran.
And there are 3 main ones.
3 crucial ones. Ida on the left, often associated with the moon or cooling energy. Pingala on the right, linked to the sun or heating energy. And Sushumna right down the center.
Sushumna sounds important.
It's critical. It's the central channel. It directly links the base energy center, often associated with Kundalini, upwards to the Brahmarandra, the spiritual center at the crown.
So that's the path for liberation.
It's considered the main highway for the vital winds to rise for spiritual realization. And that subtle cosmic sound, Nad, is also said to be heard when Pran ascends within Sushumna.
Interesting. There's also mention of the Nabi chakra, the navel center.
Yes, the Nabi chakra is seen as a kind of virtual center, a major junction box in the body. Many nadis branch out from there, including Sushumna itself, and others like Naad Dara, which resonates with Naad, and Chwalanti, linked to radiant energy.
Like an internal sun.
That's a symbolic description, yeah. The cosmic sun within the body energizing the whole system. So you see, the body isn't just flesh and bone in this view. It's this intricate landscape of vital energy, subtle channels.
Crucial for life, but also for the spiritual journey.
Exactly. Both are intertwined.
Okay, moving towards the ultimate nature of reality itself. How do these texts describe the Atma and Brahm? What are they actually like?
Well, the first thing they stress is that they are mystical,
Right.
esoteric, fundamentally beyond our normal grasp.
Beyond thought, comprehension.
Yes, enigmatic, hard to pin down with words.
And they emphasize the Atma isn't the doer. Actions belong to the body.
Right. The Atma is the inner dweller, the antaryami, the one who knows the secrets within but doesn't perform the outer actions.
It can't be caught, grasped.
Physically or mentally, no. And it doesn't need directions because it's omnipresent.
It has no attributes, like no defining qualities we can list.
No physical ones, certainly.
Yeah.
No body, so no clan, lineage, caste, creed. No eyes, no speech organ in the way we understand them.
It's invisible, colorless, unchanging.
Immutable, indivisible, wholesome, strange, mysterious, precisely because it doesn't fit our usual categories.
Can't be heard or seen because it's spirit.
Ethereal spirit, yes, not physical sound or light.
Yet, despite being so subtle, it's seen as the most worthy thing to study, to contemplate.
Absolutely. Worthy of deep research, pondering, contemplation.
A key aspect seems to be its role as a witness.
Yes, a neutral, dispassionate observer, watching the play unfold without getting caught up in it, uninvolved in the results.
It's beyond everything, transcendental.
Beyond comparison, without parallel, unique.
It's the essence of that highest state, Turiya.
Yes, the basic reality underlying that transcendental state. And it's beyond darkness, beyond ignorance or delusion. It's eternally self-illuminated.
A glorious embodiment of divinity, godliness.
That's the language used. It's farsighted, seen, or experienced only by those with inner insight. It's the eternal, steady truth that makes sight itself meaningful.
Meaning?
Well, seeing requires consciousness.
Oh.
A dead person has eyes and a brain but doesn't see. The Atma is that fundamental consciousness that enables perception.
Imperishable, eternal, flawless.
Inactive in the worldly sense, stainless, pure, without concept or doubt, nameless, changeless.
Beyond reach, thought, words. No beginning or end. Not subtle or gross in the usual way.
It's described as one without a second, the true reality. And its nature is summed up in that famous term, Satidanand.
Sat Chidanand.
Sat, meaning truthful existence. Chit, meaning pure consciousness.
Yeah.
And Anand, meaning pure bliss. That's the inherent nature of pure Atma or Brahm.
So the ultimate point here is that realizing this Atma is realizing Brahm. They're not separate.
That's the core realization. The wise, self-realized person becomes, in essence, an image of Brahm. They become one with Brahm.
And that is what the Hansa represents.
That state of realized unity, yes.
Okay, that leads us very neatly into the idea of states of consciousness. The sources describe several different states, right?
Yes, primarily four main states. Jagrat, which is the waking state, Swapna, the dreaming state, Sushupta, deep sleep, and Turiya, the transcendental state beyond deep sleep.
And they even break those down further.
Some texts mention 4 subtle subclasses within each, making 16 aspects in total, but the 4 main ones give us the core picture.
So how does the Atma relate to these different states?
Okay, in Jagrat, the normal waking state, the Atma is associated with the gross physical body. It interacts with the external world through the sense organs.
The world is its playground, so to speak.
Its playground, or its de facto body for that state. And through this interaction, the Atma can take on some grossness or taint, become restless.
And Swapna, dreaming.
Here, the Atma is associated with the subtle body, experiencing the inner world, the mental projections of dreams.
And Sushupta, deep, dreamless sleep.
In deep sleep, the Atma is associated with the causal body. That's the most fundamental layer, the cause of the other states. Here, the mind and subconscious are inactive.
So it's temporarily free from delusion?
Temporarily, yes. It's a taste of peace. However, the texts say the individual self, the Jiva Atma, usually reverts back to the other states.
Why?
Because of the momentum of past deeds, karma, and deeply ingrained erroneous notions like the idea that I am this body.
Yeah, okay. And Turiya, the 4th state.
Kriya is reached when that state of Sushupta, that deep inner stillness and connection to the causal body, becomes perpetual, permanent.
That's the transcendental state.
Yes. Consciousness remains aloof from the senses, from the busy mind. It exists in a state of continuous inner peace, perpetual samadhi or bliss.
Even if the person is physically awake.
Yes, that's the key. They might be awake, going about daily duties, but their consciousness is fundamentally distanced. Like being awake, but, as the text put it, virtually blind to the gross world's distracting inputs. No pain, sorrow, or even joy arises from external stimuli in the same way.
That's final liberation.
That's described as the state of final liberation, yes.
And there was even mention of a possible fifth state, Turiya Tit.
Some texts mention Turiya Tit, yeah, transcending even Turiya. A higher state of samadhi, where the detachment is so profound the person might cease even normal functions, seem like a log of wood, totally oblivious in a kind of superconscious state.
Wow. And these different states, they're also linked symbolically to Brahm's cosmic function.
Right, it's a nice parallel. The four states can represent Brahm in different divine forms or roles. Jagrat as Brahma, the creator.
Waking, creating the world experience.
Swapna as Vishnu, the sustainer.
Dreaming, maintaining an inner world.
Sushupta as Shiva or Rudra, the concluder or dissolver.
Deep sleep, dissolving the other states.
And Turiya as Akchar, the imperishable, eternal, unchanging Brahm itself.
It shows how the individual's journey through consciousness kind of mirrors the cosmic process.
Exactly. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm.
And the key point is that the Atma prevails through the first three states, but Turiya is the state of final liberation.
Correct. And for the self-realized person, those three bodies, gross, subtle, causal, associated with the first three states, they effectively collapse or merge back into the causal body.
Which harbors the Atma.
Which harbors the Atma and is the fundamental cause of existence. It's a return to the source, shedding the layers.
This is quite a detailed map of consciousness and reality they're laying out. Let's maybe wrap things up by looking at some of the practices and related concepts the sources say can help someone on this path. Mantras, for instance.
Mantras are definitely key. They're described as these mystical sound formulas, tools for worship, but more deeply for realization.
And they contain bij syllables, seed sounds.
Yes, the bij, or seed, is seen as the subtle, potent part, a compact, coated essence holding latent energy, often a consonant, plus a vowel, plus a dot or nasal sound.
So they aren't just random words. They have power.
They're believed to have inherent power, yes. And the sources really stress that understanding the meaning and significance of the mantra is crucial.
Not just repeating it mindlessly.
Blind repetition offers only superficial benefit, they say. True self-awakening comes from understanding what you're invoking or affirming.
OM is mentioned as a primary bij mantra.
OM is foundational. The monosyllabic bij for Brahm itself, it represents the whole cosmic cycle: initiation, development, conclusion, and even the state between creations.
And the Hansa mantra, or Soham.
That's another powerful one. Also seen as a bij mantra for Brahm or Atma, its specific aim is to establish that union, that recognition of identity between the individual consciousness and the Supreme Being.
That I am.
Essentially, yes, that Brahm truth is me.
Okay, a really fascinating related concept here is involuntary japa.
Ah, yes, this is one of the most insightful points, I think.
What is it?
The sources point out something quite simple, actually. As any creature breathes, inhaling naturally makes a kind of sa sound.
Yes. Okay.
And exhaling makes a ha sound.
Ha. Sa. Ha. Wow, that sounds incredibly like Soham or Hans backward.
It does. Or forwards, if you consider the cycle. The interpretation given is profound.
Yeah.
The creature is, at a fundamental, biological, involuntary level, constantly repeating the mantra Soham or Hans.
So, without even knowing it, we're constantly affirming that supreme truth is me.
That's the idea. Unconsciously recognizing its true self as the Supreme Brahm personified, just through the act of breathing.
So our very breath is an inherent recognition of our divine nature.
That's the beautiful implication. And the wise aspirant, understanding this, consciously transforms their breathing into unbroken, deliberate japa.
Making the unconscious conscious.
Exactly. Consciously affirming this truth with every single breath. And this practice itself is said to help the subtle Atma, the consciousness, move upwards from the lower centers.
Incredible. The sources also mention yoga practices naturally.
Of course. Yoga, particularly Hatha Yoga and Laya Yoga, are presented as paths aiming for that union. Union between the individual Atma, called Kshatragya, the knower of the field, and the Paramatma, the supreme Atma.
Eliminating spiritual problems, bringing bliss.
Those are the stated goals, yes.
And pranayam, breath control, seems central to this.
Pranayam is absolutely key because it works directly with pran, that vital energy we talked about.
How does it help?
Practices like kumhak, holding the breath, are highlighted. They're said to make the body feel lighter, eliminate toxic gases, and crucially, help the aspirant pierce through energetic knots or blockages in the subtle body. It can even help pierce the Surya Mandal, a solar realm within, bringing peace.
These energetic blockages, those are the granthas, the knots.
Yes, the granthas. They're described as emotional, sentimental, spiritual hurdles, knots that bind the subtle energy and obstruct its upward movement towards the Brahmarandra, the crown center.
There are three main ones.
Three main ones mentioned: Brahm Granthi lower down, Vishnu Granthi in the middle, and Rudra Granthi higher up near the throat and third eye area.
And piercing these knots?
Often through practices like pranayama and focused meditation that frees the aspirant. It allows the kundalini energy to rise unimpeded, leading towards Brahm realization and bliss.
Okay. There are a few other related ideas touched on. Siddhis, mystical powers.
Oh, siddhis get mentioned, yes. Occult or mystical powers like becoming tiny, Panama, or huge, Mahima. The texts classify them, though.
How?
And to Kalpit, those created or achieved through effort, which are seen as limited, and akalpit, which are more natural, spontaneous, unpredictable gifts.
Yeah.
But often, there's an implicit caution that pursuing these can be a distraction from the main goal.
Right, liberation, not powers. What about the Trinity symbolism?
Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, they reappear here, described as specific functions of the one supreme Brahm.
Creator, sustainer, dissolver.
Exactly, and they are empowered by the goddesses Saraswati Lakshmi, Parvati, who represent Shakti.
Shakti meaning?
Energy, power, authority. Even Maya is linked to Shakti.
Oh.
It's the dynamic power that allows the formless Brahm to manifest and act in the cosmos.
There's also a specific point about the element of fire.
Yes, fire is seen as intrinsically present everywhere on the earth, in food. It's necessary for life, even seen as binding hydrogen and oxygen to make water. And oxygen, of course, helps keep the body's internal furnace burning. It's fundamental.
And a brief mention of where the Atma actually resides, heart or head.
There seems to be some debate or different perspectives within the tradition. Some texts emphasize the heart as the supreme organ, the source of pragya or awareness. Others point to the head, the seat of mind and intellect, maybe suggesting Brahm enters through the crown to direct things. It just shows there isn't always one single answer.
Right. And finally, Tarak mantras.
Tarak mantras are specific mantras understood to be liberators. Tarak means liberator or deliverer. Like OM is considered a primary one. Also, Dam is mentioned in relation to the Hansa, and some connected to Lord Ram. These are mantras believed to specifically help the aspirant transcend the cycle of birth and death. Tarak Brahm is Brahm in that specific role as the one who liberates.
Wow. That was a truly expansive deep dive. We went from the Hansa symbol all the way through metaphysics, subtle energy, consciousness. Quite a journey.
It really is. It takes you from this beautiful, symbolic ideal of the enlightened being, the swan,
right
down into the intricate workings of the body's subtle energy system, the nature of the mind, the different states we experience, and ultimately the nature of reality itself.
So as you listening, think about everything we've just unpacked. Maybe consider how these ancient metaphors resonate with your own life, your own understanding of who you are.
Yeah, like that idea of the Hansa's discernment separating the milk from the water. What does that mean for you? In your own choices, your priorities, are you choosing the essential?
Or reflect on the nature of your own awareness. You know, the different states you move through every single day, waking, dreaming, hopefully some deep sleep. What might these texts suggest about the self that underlies all those changing experiences? Is there something constant beneath the surface?
These ideas really offer a powerful lens, a different way to look at our internal life, our relationship with the world outside, and maybe the potential we all have for realizing something deeper, a truth beyond the usual limitations we perceive.
The journey from being perhaps the creature caught in the world's distractions.
Back to becoming that pure, discerning, conscious Hansa.
Okay, let's try and summarize the absolute key takeaways. First, the Hansa, a potent symbol for the enlightened self, one with Brahm, embodying purity and discernment.
Second, that fundamental distinction between the perishable body and the eternal, pure Atma, the true self. Realizing this changes everything, especially fear of death.
Third, the body as this landscape of subtle energies, pran, the vital force flowing through channels, the naiades, especially the central sushumna, all crucial for life and spiritual practice.
Fourth, the nature of ultimate reality, Atma or Brahm, described as mystical, beyond grasp, yet the ultimate truth, consciousness, and bliss, Satchitananda.
Fifth, consciousness existing in multiple states, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupta, and the liberated state of Turiya, where the self rests in its true nature even while awake.
And finally, practices like understanding mantras, especially OM and Soham, yoga, pranayama, and even recognizing the involuntary japa in our breath are all tools to help realize this inherent truth.
It really paints this picture of a rich inner world and an inherent divinity, doesn't it?
A profound potentiality within each of us.
Which brings us then to our final provocative thought for you to maybe just ponder on your own time. If your true self is that pure, eternal consciousness symbolized by the Hansa, and if even the simple, involuntary act of your breathing is, according to these texts, a constant, unconscious repetition of Soham, that supreme truth is me. Yeah.
What does that imply about your fundamental nature? About your potential? Even right now, in the middle of all the world's busyness and distractions, it really raises an important question. What would it truly mean to live fully conscious of that truth with every single breath you take?